where equality is just another euphemism for mediocrity, where participation is more highly valued than achievement, where just enough to get by is the new standard of excellence. There is a small minority of people who fight back against such apathy, who struggle daily to reach new heights. These brave few are the hope for the future, the bright shining light for the next generation. They are the ones who will lead us to the places we have never dreamed of, to the undiscovered country, to reach goals only a few can even begin to imagine. Unfortunately, none of those people could be here tonight, so kick back and relax. Prepare yourself for several hours of fun, friendship, fascinating conversation, and fabulous music. Although that's just an alliteration and kind of a radio trick. Speaking of radio, you're listening to the most popular radio station in the history of broadcast radio, at least among stations that originate from Chris's living room. It's Curious Times. Your host is Curious Listener. Here she is, Chris.
All right, and welcome everybody to Curious Times. It's Wednesday, March 7th already. Barbara DeLong is here. And so we're starting with this whole no readings kind of deal. Once a year, Barbara will do readings. And now there's something wrong with my picture. What is going on? How does that look to you guys? It looks all off to me. Something's wrong. Oh, there, I can move it. Okay. That's better. Sorry about that. Okay. So once a year, maybe the end of the year, the beginning of the next year, we'll do a reading show. And otherwise we'll just have some fascinating conversation about because Barbara never stops researching. And so we get to be the great beneficiaries of that, because she gets to do all the work, and then we just get to sit back and listen, and then we get to learn something in 2 hours that took her, days to track down. And so it's amazing. Barbara always comes up with the most interesting things to talk about. She is, of course, and has been for quite a long while, radio show host of her own show called Nightlight on Blog Talk Radio. She also has created her own oracle deck called the Cosmic Deck of Initiation, and she's authored a book called Whispers of Spiritual Wisdom. Both of those items are available on Amazon, so just go to Amazon and search for Barbara DeLong. And she's had some very amazing experiences of her own in her life, and she has, of course, been for 6 years doing readings, and most notably well known for her letter rip readings. So once a year, you guys can come here and get that done, or maybe with some nice talk and some moolah, you might be able to convince Barbara to do private readings for you. I don't know. We'll ask her when she comes on. Go to her website, and you can find so it's an endless amount of amazing information. Notice I didn't use the word plethora this time, but I just did. Anyways, an amazing amount of information. And about all kinds of topics, and you can find links to everything that she does, including her YouTube channel, which we appreciate if you guys would get over to the YouTube channel if you haven't, and subscribe. And that's the username on that is PO Box 270, and not PO Box. P.O. Box 270, and I don't know, you might be able to find it just by searching for Barbara DeLong on there. But Barbara's on a bazillion different YouTube videos, various shows she's been on and done, and so you might be quicker to get to home. Go to www.barbaradelong.com, and there's a link right to her YouTube and to everything she does. She can, of course, also be found on Blog Talk Radio at blogtalkradio.com/night-light. And that's about all I can tell you. So let's just go bring Barbara. Happy birthday week, Barbara.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. It's more fun when you have the whole week because you get to really spread stuff around. So
Exactly.
I very grateful to you.
Well, I hope you had some cake.
I did not.
Oh my God. Oh my
No
God.
cake. Sorry about that.
Okay. That's okay. Better your hips than mine, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, no cake. But it was definitely, a quiet birthday and I had a great time. It was just a good birthday.
Good. So what is the cutoff so that you get to start to have a birthday month? Should we make a new rule? Like, what age should we get when we get to have the whole month be our birthday month?
I think that probably should be 75, and I'm not there yet. So,
Okay. And then 100 is every day is your birthday. Yeah, 100.
Yeah, absolutely. If you make it that far, then, God bless you.
It's like Happy Undeath Day. You didn't die today. Happy Undeath Day.
Yeah, it's a little scary, though, isn't it?
You must open your eyes and go, wow.
I'm still here.
Still here.
Dear God.
I guess I'm going to have to get to those dust bunnies after all.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. No, that's
anyway.
Yes. So it's been an exciting time, and actually I have you to thank for some stuff because I have to redo my website, and you gave me a great piece of advice, and with the new front page and some of the new insides, we did alphabetize the buttons on the front so it would be easier for people like you to find things.
People like me.
Well, you did suggest the alphabetizing of the buttons on the front. It makes great sense. It really does. Yes, you did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you said.
What a great idea I had that I don't even remember having.
Yeah, it was your idea. I told you there were going to be 19 buttons on the front, and you said, "Oh, geez, maybe you should alphabetize them so they're easier to find."
Well, there you go.
So,
I don't remember saying that, but woohoo! What a great idea.
It was a great idea, and it is being implemented, and hopefully within the next week or so, the new and improved Barbara's website will be up and out there. I found that there are a lot of drop down menus, and a lot of people don't even notice the stuff that are in the drop down menus. So a lot of the material that's there wasn't being looked at.
Right.
So I decided to put it out there up front and personal, and we'll just see what happens with this. It's going to be interesting to see if some of those areas that haven't been hit get hit a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, seriously, I tell you every time, Barbara's here, go check out her freaking website, and I'm sure that many of you have all the best intentions of doing so, but you probably don't. But, oh my God, she's got stuff on there about just about everything, and that would interest, if Dragon was here, he would probably enjoy the Druids, Wizards, and Fairies stuff, and she's got all kinds of stuff on reincarnation and how to talk to guides and angels and all of this kind of stuff, and she's got, I think you had some stuff on Atlantis at some point there.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is in one of the sections there now in the About Barbara, there's a My Favorites place where I have all sorts of jewelry and all sorts of stuff that I've seen at craft fairs and stuff like that I thought were spectacular, and I have the links to where you can get the stuff. And some of the stuff is, and then there's a place where I have all the books that I recommend and the links to where you can get the books. So,
Yeah.
there's
I
there's
noticed
food.
food. I want to find out what Barbara thinks the foods are. Lolly cakes.
Yeah.
You should have had a lolly cake for your birthday. At least it would have had the word cake in it.
But these are just really cool things that I've run across in my travels, and I have put up there, and it's sort of like people, and I give full credit to everybody that just looks at the website and says that's cool and moves on, but there are over 500 pages there.
Yeah, it's an amazing. But there's just some. Do you still have the stuff on the tablets? The green grass on the.
Secrets of the Stones?
No, oh man, it's like the word tablet here. Maybe I can
Emerald
find
tablets. Emerald tablets.
Yes, green. I knew it was green, like another word for green.
Actually, that there is some stuff on the Emerald tablets, and there's going to be another section called something like Ponder This, and I'm going to put up. There are some things that I've investigated that don't fit anywhere, but are so fascinating that I'm going to put the material up there, and like Kincaid's Cave. This man supposedly discovered a cave in the Grand Canyon that had artifacts in it that went back to ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia that had mummies in it, and theoretically he was there working for the Smithsonian, went back to the Smithsonian, and they sent an expedition that theoretically took all of the artifacts back, and now they're all disappeared. And now they won't let you get anywhere near where that cave opening is in the Grand Canyon. You can't even fly a helicopter near it. Childress tried to get in there. He tried to get information, and they blanked him out. And Walter, the guy that did Unearthing America, he tried he did a whole episode on his series. He tried to get into it, and he couldn't get near it either. So, and they said it's because the condors were nesting there, which is BS. So, stuff like that, and the Golden Circle from the Civil War, and there's some areas that I've been fascinated with that I've gathered a lot of information on, and it doesn't fit anywhere else. So I may throw another button up there called Ponder This, and I'll put all that material there. Certainly, the Emerald Tablet material is fascinating, and I continue to sort of pull that together. So it's going to be interesting.
It's pretty amazing stuff, that you guys would do well to, one of these days I should just, I should do a trivia test on based on Barbara's website, and we'll see which of our listeners actually goes there, and then they'll win a prize like that. You know what I mean? We'll see. There will be a test after this, So what are we gonna do with our time tonight, Barbara?
Well, it's really interesting because there is a lot going on, and I have sort of taken a poll of people who are I'm kind of one thing I'm writing up now is a thing on labels are limiting, and it kind of has to do with people on a spiritual trip or spiritual pathway, a spiritual journey. And in many ways, people, say, oh, I'm a light worker, or I'm on a spiritual journey, or I am a shaman, or a psychic, or a channeler, or everybody, takes a label that supposedly describes them. And the reality is that when you have a label that you define yourself by, you are limited by that label. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't call myself a psychic anymore. That's why I don't do the mediumship or the this or the that. I basically, if I have to put a label on me, I just say I'm a student of the cosmos, because that way, I can stretch any direction I want to. I'm not limited by anything. And so many people that I know say I'm a psychic, or I'm a channeler, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, and they are totally limited by that. They are imprisoned by that label, and they don't go any further. And being psychic, being intuitive, being sensitive, they're all stepping stones on a pathway. But if you're standing on one stone and you don't take the next step, you're not growing, you're not expanding, you're not on a pathway, you're on a step, and you're not going anywhere. So
right.
I kind of have found that a lot of people are standing on their steps. They aren't going anywhere. I know people that have said, I'm a psychic, and they've been a psychic for 50, 60 years, and that's it. I know astrologers and I almost want to take astrologers out of that mix, because astrology is a lifelong study. It never stops.
Yeah.
And so anybody that is an astrologer and continues to evolve and grow, then they're growing in that field. And I absolutely wouldn't say that they are limited, but your psychics, they don't go anywhere.
Astrologer that all you do is buy an astrology program and punch someone's name and date of birth in, and then hit go, and then get and that's the reading. Then you're not really an astrologer. So Barbara's talking about really studying it day in and day out, and you're applying it to occurrences and things going on, and you know what I mean. As Barbara said, progress.
And when you can let a computer do your damn chart, but then when planets fall here and there, and they're in hunquaks or whatever, or there's so many terms I can't even pronounce. But when they're looking at where the planets are and how they affect one another and what that means and how that opens to, I had Michelle on Monday night, and somebody couldn't give the time they were born, and she said, well, let's see if we can figure it out, And it was amazing. She was asking questions like, what color are your eyes? What color is your hair? Do you have dimples? Do you have this? Do you have, and by pinpointing, she was taking life experiences to get exactly where the time frame was, and once she had the time frame, then she was able to really give this girl amazing information. So,
Another interesting way some of the good is they can take the date of birth, date and location and whatnot of birth of the mother, and then they can look at the mother's chart, and then they can look at that day for an event. You know what I mean? A spike of some kind or whatever it is.
Sure.
It indicates that there's been an event, and they can probably narrow down the time of birth by the time of an event during the day. In the mother's birth chart, they go to the date of birth of the person seeking they go to that date, and then they can see is there anything interesting about this date that happened, and I think that they can zero in on a time that way too.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing. But people that are just giving you the cold reads that this is what this means and this is what this means, that's not it. There's a certain amount of intuitive stuff that actually goes into it as well. And there are some, I think Michelle is one of the finest astrologers I've ever really experienced. And I've met a lot. And so I'm finding that lately, people who are truly on a spiritual journey, and looking to make connections inside of themselves and really working on themselves and discovering, the richness that they carry within. They are withdrawing from the field, so to speak, and looking in new directions as far as how can they manifest their talents, their gifts, and their insights into this reality in a better way, in a more expansive way, to touch more people with the message they have as far as the evolution of the spirit within the earth plane. And I'm finding it with, I'd say, I've sort of spoken to maybe 20 people who have been in the field for a long time, and almost everybody is pulling back, is saying, wait a minute, I'm missing something. I want to sort of take a sabbatical and move back and reacquaint myself with myself and find out where I need to be, what I need to do, and what I want to be if I grow up, so to speak. If that was a big if, but that's I think one of the reasons I've pulled back from doing these quick readings, these letter rip readings, and everything. To me, I wasn't being of service to the people as much as I would want to be. I wasn't giving them as much as I was able to give, and in many ways, I found that for some, not all, but for some people, it was a game they were playing, and they weren't paying attention to what I was saying anyhow. So, it's kind of like, okay, so how can I better impact the reality out there? And some of it is with doing the interviews that I've been doing. I am going to put together in the next month a video that talks about how to use the Cosmic Deck of Initiation. I Googled in YouTube Cosmic Deck of Initiation, and oh my God, there are so many sites that talk about the deck. I had never actually looked there, to be honest with you. And a lot of people are talking about it, but none of them created it. And I thought, you know what? I ought to get the story out there. I ought to lay the cards out and explain why they were developed in this particular way and how I do a reading and how I use the cards to sort of help somebody to get information about their life and stuff like that. Because there are a couple of people out there on the Internet actually using the deck and not the way I developed it. Now, I have to be a bigger person in that, I created the tool, but everybody who gets the deck will use it in their own way. And I shouldn't say that's right or wrong. It's, everybody will do their own thing. But I just felt that, maybe I'm slightly obligated to put out how I did it and why I did it that way, and at least give them the option to look at how I thought they should be used. So that will be going up on YouTube. And so I'm having fun with all the interviews. I have some fascinating people that I've read some books that certainly challenged me in many different ways. Every now and then you get you get somebody that says, yeah, they'll do a show, and then you take a look at their book and you think, holy crap, can I even understand what they're saying? So, and that's been a challenge, and yet, and yet we grow, and that's what I love.
I'd love to hear you, and I'd love to hear you have somebody like from the Flat Earth Society come on your show and explain to you how we have a flat Earth.
I would be very open to that. I'm fine with that. I would
love to hear the discussion. You know what I mean? Like you could do it. I wouldn't be able to do it personally with a straight face.
Well, I did have somebody signed up for the show, and I read some of his material, and I canceled. I just couldn't. I could not relate to what he was saying. Yeah. And I had Philip Camilla on the show, and he was an amazing man, and he's written a book called The Collapse of Materialism, Visions of Science, Dreams of God. And his book was fascinating. He talks about a God with a big G and a God with a little g. And, went into how there have always been gods with a little g's, and then the God of creation is the God with a capital G. And, kind of went through the whole evolution of us as a society to this particular point in time, and how our egos kind of get in the way, and we create gods with a little g in our reality that really don't have anything to do with worship, and yet we worship them like money.
Mm.
So that was a cool book. And I have another guy that's Ernie Brinkus. He's written a book called Jesus Gate, which I'm really fascinated with reading. And that has to do with the fact that the Vatican has not actually released a lot of the information that they have, and if they did, it would clarify a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible. And I'm excited about that one too. And he actually was also a part of he was part of one of the Beach Boy type singing groups in the 60s, I think. I can find his thing now because it was really.
I knew Amy would get on that book because she just loves Jesus. Anything to do with Jesus, she's all over it. So she's got the link to the book in the chat room there. Why would you think that? So why would you think that? The Vatican would hide this stuff that would bring clarity to the Bible?
Well, because, and this goes back to a lot of different people that I've been reading lately, basically it's religion as a whole is a corporate entity that is meant to consciously control society and humanity. And originally, I think, I would like to believe that religion was created to give people a framework to work from. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way because God or the gods have always been entities that we have worshipped and allowed to control our reality, whether they were aliens who we mistook as gods or actual gods. It's sort of like we have given away our free will and our control because we think we're not worthy, and that thinking we're not worthy has been imposed upon us by those entities. So when it came to religion and Paul creating a religion, and it wasn't really a religion until Constantine decided to make it the religion of Rome, and there you have your Roman Catholics. And he created, there were the popes, and then they had the Council of Nicaea, and the next council where they did away with all of the information on reincarnation. They created their own framework. These men, these priests, these whoever they were, these wise men, they went over thousands and thousands of tablets of spiritually oriented material to create a story that they could put into a book that they could use to control people with, and that's exactly what they've done. Now, there has been material that has been discovered and brought forward that changes a lot, and yet the Vatican controls it. They scoop it up right away, and they put it in their archives, and it never sees the light of day again. There were lost books in the Bible. Now, the lost books in the Bible, a lot of them have been discovered, and they're out there in print, and absolutely, it's worth looking at them. The Gospel of Thomas, there's a Gospel of Mary. She was a disciple, and yet, the Bible has not depicted her as one, and finally, one of the popes finally said, well, she actually wasn't a whore. But he didn't say it loud enough so that it still preached that she was a whore and a wanton woman and yada yada. But she wasn't. She was an amazingly wise woman, and she was a disciple. So, and the Dead Sea Scrolls do validate that. So, it's not so much that, it's the information is out there if you look for it, but very few people look for it. So,
for me, I'm I can't trust any of the things that I've written because, people who have been involved with that, right? And so, I take the concept of God, the Creator, and then I apply the notion that we all are a part of that, like a drop of water in the ocean is a part of the ocean. And so, and that's all I need to know at that point. None of it, the rest of it really matters to me. And so, I just get, because you're exactly right. When I ask the question, of course, the whole point to the church is Catholic Church in particular, but lots of churches, is they have all, what kills me the most about them is they're all bloody rich and they're letting all the people up poor people, stay poor. And they're getting, and continuing to seek contributions from even the poor people. And, they're giving really nothing back. And so it's just all about, power, money, control. And not, so that if there is a hell, they're all going to hell, man, for what they're doing.
Well, I think what gets me is that, and in that first book I talked about the downfall of materialism, fascinating book, fascinating book, because it kind of, he's basically said in that book that we have been dumbed down throughout time. We have been told that we aren't worthy, that we have to make penance, that we were born with sin and yada, 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 yada. And the reality is that yes, there is a, if you want to call it a God of creation, I kind of like to call it a universal energy source of all creation. And we were created by that energy, but we were sent out, we were seeds of that energy were sent out and cast throughout the entire universe. And everybody has one of those seeds inside of them. Now, some of these seeds fell in places where they didn't grow, and some fell in places where they did grow. It's kind of like, the dandelions, when you blow the seeds, some of them end up in good places and some of them don't. But that source energy did not control where we landed. We were set free. And we have control over, now there's a spirit in the body. The body is an avatar. This physical body is something that will go to dust someday. But the spirit will move on. And the spirit is on a journey. And frankly, I believe that the journey we're on is gathering enough information so at some point in time, billions, trillions, gazillion years from now, our energy will be so full and rich that it will send out seeds. So we are on a journey not to return to a creator, but to become one ourselves.
Well, that's very interesting and profound. That's very interesting. I like that.
I do
and
too.
In some ways, we kind of are already on a micro level. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because we send ourselves here, this is my thinking. We send ourselves here to do, I think with an overall plan of action. Not every second of the lifetime is necessarily cast in stone before we get here, but that's our doing. And we are controlling where we land when we send ourselves, kind of thing like that. I really like that idea. So it's like to say that our end goal is as individuals. As individuals, we're all a drop of the ocean that is the Creator, so that we're all a drop of the Creator, but we're all seeking to become our own ocean.
Yes.
Basically is the thing. And that's interesting.
And what and let me address the Jesus thing too. Jesus, somebody said in the chat room that he was an alien, and I do believe that he was a visitor from another dimension.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that source of all creation created all life form. Aliens and whatever. Everybody's a part of the same whole. So I do believe that he was a visitor to the planet. I do believe that he was in another dimension, another awareness, so that he was capable of utilizing far more of his energetic field than we are, though we are capable of doing it as well.
Well, right? Because now I'd always look at these things as being, there's a difference between, like if some being like beamed itself into my living room here right now, they're truly a visitor from another place, right?
Another dimension, yeah.
But if Jesus was born on Earth, you know what I mean? Then any one of us could have previously been an alien from another dimension, another universe, another whatever, and we've chosen to come and be a human being this time, And so that in that way, each of us is in our own and based perhaps, everything I say is all just speculation anyways, but is based perhaps somewhat on how many lifetimes we've already had and what were our previous experiences. Although that we're not consciously aware of what those were, they form, in my mind. Once I cross over and I go back to, my soul or whatever it is, soul, that energy, that pure energy, then that's my higher self, let's say for the lack of a better way to put it, that's my higher self. So that my meter has been filled up a little bit more from that most recent life experience. So that, you know what I mean? Like, so that my meter's filled up a little bit more. My higher self is that much more experienced. You know what I mean? And so when I choose the next time to come back or to go wherever I go, it will be with whatever collective experiences all of my previous existences have given me. And so now if Jesus was previously, maybe maybe some of us have had most of our lifetimes as human beings, you know what I mean? Maybe some people have had most of their existences have been in other places as other life forms. Perhaps some more advanced and perhaps some less advanced. I could name a few.
Don't presume.
No, I'm not going to. No, of course not. But so that when we come back to Jesus then, is to say that there's a difference in my mind of him like coming here already, like from somewhere else, or him being born, whereas his previous lifetime was somewhere else. And so he's bringing whatever other wealth of knowledge, information, whatever experience he had before into his new life form here on Earth. But that he was, so you see my point, it's like that I call that there's a difference between if you get reincarnated here as a human being, you know what I mean, then you're not really from another place. Like, but if I have an alien land in my living room, they're from another place. That's kind of, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and there's a really good theory here in this Collapse of Materialism book. He goes into that, and it's kind of interesting. The story of Jesus is really a repeat of the story of Horus, the story of, there are dozens of stories that go with virgin birth, with stars and disciples and the whole thing. So when Paul created the Jesus story, or whoever did, he was taking traditions and stories that went back, almost thousands of years. This theory is that Jesus, the Christ, really manifested as a full-grown man at some point in time at 33 years. That's where the story really starts. There is really no record of the early years of Jesus at all. And the birth story in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in those first chapters is different in each one. So that it's a story. But
now, if he's only materialized at 33, then yes, he's come from somewhere else, and he came for some purpose, which obviously was a chief thing, and knowing full well perhaps how the ending would be already, you know what I mean? And so, but if he was born, then he was an exceptional human being, perhaps, you know what I mean? But it's not unlike people that we have running around here that are really great healers, and they know how to work energy, and that they can do some things, and that's where the difference for me would lie, and I've never much believed much of the stuff in the Bible, because as I said before, I can't trust who has said what for what purpose, right? To keep you in fear and obedient is
exactly
seems to me to be the vast majority of the Bible, and I'm glad, because I was never programmed with that. You know what I mean? I was lucky because my dad was the son of two preachers. You know what I mean? My grandparents on his side were both Pentecostal preachers, and so he rebelled so hard against that, and so that when he became a father, he certainly wasn't, I think that we weren't even baptized or christened. You know what I mean? And so my parents rejected religion entirely, and so that was a great benefit to me personally, I think, for that reason, because none of that stuff got programmed into me.
Well, I think I think that that's a better way to be. The stories that are in the Bible do in many ways create a cage for your consciousness. And if you can get to the place, and I'm not, if religion is solace and wonderful and it makes somebody's life richer, then God bless them. For me, I'm at a place where I'm looking at all this and I'm saying, well, wait a minute, what if? Let's look at this. And if you look at the Billy Meyer material, he's been talking to aliens that come from another dimension, and their story is very different. And there are a couple of authors that I've read lately that talk about how the aliens did terraform the planet, and it amazing stories that go into the fact that the gods of the Bible were really alien cultures that had terraformed the planet, and things got out of control. So they created, they destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah with nuclear explosions and stuff like that. So you sit back and you start to look at our history and the Bible and the stories, and you take it from another perspective, and it makes so much more sense than the Bible. And so you have to. I began to question a long time ago as I started to do all of this research, and Constantine did a job. He created a religion. Intentionally, he created a religion. And he put the Bible together so that it told a story. But
that's not unlike what we call cults. You know what I'm saying? Except for that we demonize these cults, but yet You know what I mean? Like any one of these other religions is pretty much a cult.
Well, they all are, and the purpose of all of them is to control the consciousness of the people that they've attracted to them.
Yeah.
And it.
Anyway.
but it just, it's like this is the story and this is the rule and this is how things go. And if you question, then you're kicked out.
Yeah. I would have been tempted, because I've had people around here, and they were always the ones being punished in like school or whatever, because they kept on like challenging, like, whatever the nuns were saying or this or that, and that would have been me. So I just got scared about that. Maybe I had that already in another lifetime, you know what I mean? And I could just skip it this time, really. So now, listen, like the other day I had I'm kind of doing a quick, and we can jump back, but while I'm still remembering it, because I'm interested to know if you, I'd be surprised if you hadn't like looked into this or know something about it, but my TV happened to be, like I was watching, well, I wasn't even watching, but I mean, a pre-recorded program was playing on my TV, and then, when it ends, it just like, whatever channel the TV happens to be on just comes live, right? And so it was on some channel, and they were talking about how this theory that we're living in a black hole, that we are living in a black hole. And so have you ever looked into that or come across that?
Well, I haven't so much come across that as much as the theory that we are living in Middle Earth. We aren't on the surface, we're in Middle Earth.
Oh my God.
And sounds like, and that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well,
no,
because,
and
it's the science of how the Earth, like, because part of this show also showed, like, way back how all the planets started to become. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
so
all the space junk crashing into each other. Now, if you have a big enough rock or whatever, and then the next rock that comes to it is small enough, it will create like a huge heat thing, and then it will become fused so that rock grows a little bit bigger, and then so on. If such a time comes that the two rocks that are about equal size, they will just shatter each other, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then they all become a little bit, so one can't absorb the other. And so that the 9 surviving, and I guess now 8 or whatever, surviving planets or whatever, that they, came to be, just in this way of like over so long of a period of time, like rocks, and then so then they show like the Earth's core and like where all this heat is stored and all. So like I am trying to imagine this Middle Earth stuff, which I so far have, considered to be mostly nonsense, although that I've had people who I respect really make the case for it. You know what I mean? But then I continually go back to like the science of the construction of the Earth and what the Earth is, so that now what I have to accept is that somehow inside of this Earth somewhere, away from all of the molten lava and everything else that will like melt us in a second, there's a whole, because if we think about how big we think the Earth is, you know what I mean? Now we're really inside of something that's got to be much bigger, and inside of where we are is a whole, because if we're in Middle Earth and this is our world consists of all of these planets and solar system, and like, so then there's all of that inside of Earth, you know what I'm saying? And so then, oh my God, I can't even begin to, my brain is out to explode.
Well, and that the theory of the Big Bang doesn't make sense. And yet it's taught in school.
Well, it's not one Big Bang, you know what I mean? It's as I described, like, well, I'm only saying, like, that makes sense to me scientifically, like, that each planet was formed over many bangs. Many bangs,
well,
you know what I mean?
let's take it all the way back. You know, in the beginning, where was the beginning?
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, I mean, if you're saying that everything was sort of floating around, and then suddenly there was an explosion, and this galaxy was formed, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, there was what? Thought? A word? What? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, you can't.
And there is such balance in the way the planets swing around the sun and everything else that,
right.
You know,
right.
Come on. I mean, that's an accident?
No. There's such math to everything. You know what I mean? Like that. This is why I've always said, like, the creation theory and the Big Bang theory do not have to be at odds. The Creator caused the Big Bang. Boom! There you go. You know what I mean?
Well, wait a minute. What did he use? What did the Creator use?
Well,
I mean, if the Creator is a thought, is an energy, is an etheric body, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can't see it, can't touch it, can't feel it, can't smell it, but it's there. It's energy.
Yeah.
What did he use? What did he say? Oh, it's a good day for an explosion?
And it's funny because, like, the thing, like, I don't know. I have grade 9 science, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage here. You know what I mean? But all I'm trying to say is that you don't have to buy one or the other. You know what I mean?
That's true.
There's people that, you know, they either are creation or Big Bang, and that's it. Never the twain shall meet. And I'm all thinking, like, it required both, at least both, if not something else in there. But now, so come back to Middle Earth because so it's part of this Earth that we have, that we think that we know what this Earth is. That means like that there's like, so we have this notion that on the surface of Earth is this atmosphere, there's air, we receive the warmth of the sun that's out in the space, you know what I mean, in the galaxy or system or whatever. And the moon is there, and and we have all the stars that we get to see, right? So now if we're inside of Earth, I can't understand anything beyond that then. You know what I mean? Because then it's almost like those Russian dolls then, if you know what I mean, right? Russian doll inside of a Russian doll inside of a Russian doll inside of a Russian doll. Because we would have to have, if for us to be in Middle Earth, but yet be thinking that we're experiencing living on the surface of Earth, means that there's another Earth inside of the Earth. You know what I mean?
How about this? How about Middle Earth is another dimension?
Well, okay, then that's different though, Barbara, right? Because then if we're in another dimension, the physicality of where we are doesn't matter at all. We could be in another dimension and be on the surface of Earth, right?
We could, yeah.
So what would the purpose of being in the middle of the Earth be?
It wouldn't be so hot.
How could you survive if the science is correct about the structure of the Earth?
Mm-hmm.
How is there a middle of the Earth where it's safe for anybody to not to mention that there's parks that you can run around in, and there's a Grand Canyon inside of there.
But let's look at scientists here. Scientists can't prove anything. They have theories to bridge gaps where they don't have any connections. They can't truly connect us evolutionarily wise that we are actually a relative of a monkey. There are missing places in their theories. So the theory, so Darwin doesn't work. I mean, evolution doesn't work. Darwin doesn't work, to tell you the truth. I mean, if we came from...
In one kind of evolution works, which is how I can't track back to the beginning, I'll give you that. You know what I mean? But I can say to you that we adapt to our environment, right? And so in some ways, like...
But that kind of evolution takes thousands of years, right?
Sure, but we've been here billions of years, right? Like,
I'll agree with that. But if that's the case, if we came from a single cell and we came out of the swamp and yada, 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 you can't explain the human eye. Because that didn't develop over millions of years. Sight came in a flash. What I'm basically saying is none of that holds up to reason. Therefore, humans as we stand now had to be implanted on this planet, fully functional, as opposed to evolving from a single cell. The evolution of us on this planet does not make sense.
That's fair enough. I'm talking about I talk about where did we come from differently from how did the Earth come to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I can totally be on board with that. I've often said it myself. You know what I mean? Is like but like the science of the Earth itself and how now can you is there scientific evidence of the structure of the Earth and that at the Earth there's this core and blah, blah, blah. And like what, like if we drilled all the way through the Earth, a core, and we and we got a sample, like is there this whole huge empty space with, like, are we going to scoop people up inside of that core and everything?
Well, there is no scientific proof for Middle Earth. However, Admiral Byrd theoretically flew into Middle Earth and then flew out and came back, and his diaries, his journals, talk about going to Middle Earth. And Admiral Byrd was not a flake.
Yeah.
So
now I accept that he went somewhere. He flew into somewhere. A little tear in space and time or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm all good with that. I've personally gone to places that I'm like, this is a real place, you know what I mean? And I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, this is as real as it could get for me. And, but this is where I mean is a different dimension. So I don't doubt for a second that the guy flew into somewhere and like it might have been that it looked like he was headed for a certain, place, and then all of a sudden he hits he slips through something, right? And so now he's not inside of the Earth, he's like somewhere that's not here. And I can be on board with that, and that everything that he experienced and saw can be true, I guess, but maybe just like where you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking about some space movies or this or that. Like, they're driving along in their spaceship, and then, like, all of a sudden it's like poof into, or else how about like the Stargate thing? You know what I mean? Like, you just step through this thing, and now you're wherever you end up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Berg was, it was over the North Pole where he supposedly, flew into this entrance to Agartha, which was a city in Middle Earth, supposedly. He was a Freemason. He was also familiar with the Illuminati, and Rockefeller financed a lot of his expeditions to the poles. I don't believe it, to be honest with you. It just doesn't make sense to me, but apparently that there is in the center of Middle Earth a sun, like our sun, that is what is we call our molten, whatever. But we've drilled down so deep that I think that as far as as far as I go, I'd have to see it to believe it because, I mean, the internal sun that supposedly sustains life on Middle Earth is what the molten lava and everything, that we think is there. So I guess that's what the theory is, that's the molten lava that scientists say are down there in the magma and everything. And the distance that they have to go down, that they have drilled down, they haven't actually, I don't believe, hit the core drilling down. So the possibility still is there. I'm not sure I buy it, but,
So so then here's the question though. Like if we have measurements of the Earth's surface, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this kind of thing, like there's mathematical calculations that can be made, right? And
Yeah.
So then how can we be in, like that's what I mean, is that means that there has to be a whole Earth inside of an Earth inside of an Earth inside, you know what I mean? Like for that to even be possible then.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blows my mind. Like I can't say any of it's wrong, you know what I mean? Because I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, like it's going to be an interesting day when we all get together and have that round table on the other side. And all go, oh shit.
Well,
and maybe each one of us started off in different places, and like that other kid theory, which is to say that all of these dimensions that are lined up so closely beside each other, and so that some things can happen within one dimension that cause it to kind of go poof, and it shoves everybody into the next one then, you know what I mean? And so maybe we all didn't start out in the same Earth, you know what I mean?
Well, when you're talking about how thick the core of the Earth is, we're talking, 2,000, 3,000 miles to the core, down.
Right.
It's that thick. So, in Earth, okay, that inner core, the very thing at the very center of us could easily be the sun that they're talking about that is from Middle Earth. But nobody's drilled down that far. They haven't actually drilled down that far yet.
They don't have the ability, but not, okay, so again, back to the math. You know what I mean? Like, so you can take the circumference of something and then you can figure out where the middle is of that. That would be I can't remember all the math shit, but anyway, diameter, radius, is that the radius that goes to the center?
Okay, here you go. The distance to the center of the Earth is 3,958 miles.
Right. So now, how can we be in a place where there's more miles between me and you? You know what I mean? Like between Edmonton and wherever you are. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I'm guessing that there's 3,000 miles that I would have to travel to find you. You know what I mean? But I mean, let's take one side of the country to the other side of the country, and that's just one country. How many miles is that?
Okay, no, I got you, but okay, so listen to it this way.
How can we middle of the Earth and have all of that space? And like, if there's only 3,000 miles from the surface of Earth to the middle of the Earth, then how can we have inside of the middle of the Earth 20,000 miles?
Okay, so wait a minute. So the diameter of the Earth is 7,900. Yeah, the distance around is 7,917 miles.
Okay.
So easily there can be 3,000 miles between the two of us. That makes...
But you understand my point, though, is how many miles from the surface of the Earth to the center of the Earth?
From the surface of the Earth, That is 3,958 miles.
Okay. To center. Okay.
The center, yeah.
So which means that
and the
multiply that. Okay.
The deepest we've ever drilled is 12 kilometers.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've never
Totally
drilled there. So they don't really know. Is I guess what's coming the theory here. They don't know.
So if from the center of the Earth, from the surface of the Earth to the center of the Earth is 3,958 miles, then from the surface of the Earth on this side of it to the surface of the Earth on that side of it, if you go straight down, not around, you know what I mean? Not around, is 7,916 miles, right? And so, okay. And so how many miles is the circumference of the Earth?
The diameter, right?
I think circumference.
Okay.
Let's see. What is the...
All right. Okay, you figured that one.
Circumference of the Earth. Okay. Circumference of the Earth is 40,075 kilometers. So now I gotta convert 40,075 km. And okay. So then in miles. In miles. I'll say in miles. There we go. In miles, it's 24,901 miles. So to me, that means it's 24,901 miles to start at the North Pole, travel around the Earth, and reach back to the North Pole. That's what that says to me, I think?
Yep.
Okay. So there's 24,901 miles. Inside of the Earth, okay, is a maximum of 7,916 miles, top to bottom.
Yep.
And when we're that's our restriction. So if we're right at the very center of the Earth, then we have a maximum of 3,958 miles to the left of us, 3,958 miles to the top of us, same on each direction. No matter what direction we go, the furthest we can get before we hit the surface of the Earth is 3,958 miles. So then my point is that how far is, Edmonton from, how far is Edmonton from Hawaii? You know what I mean? In miles.
Yeah, well, it's 3,000 miles across the country from shore to shore, around 3,000 miles.
That's just the country. So now let's look at the world. I mean, so that my point is that if we're inside of the Earth, how is that possible? How is that possible? How is it possible? Unless, I guess, we're counting, like I can't, because my brain is going to explode. I can't make sense of it.
Well, listen, that's why this theory isn't exactly one of the ones that is, it's a great theory, but I don't think it holds. I think Admiral Byrd did not go into Middle Earth. I think he did land somewhere. I think he did find something quite exotic, but I don't think he hit Middle Earth.
Right. I think he went through some kind of a time and space issue, and he definitely, it was a real, whatever. Because even when I've had astral travel, it seemed as real as it could be to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't negate I experienced that. I felt real feelings. I felt real emotions. And so it's as real as it could be for me and different from a dream. I could say that much. And so, he went somewhere. I don't even doubt it. And it doesn't even have to be a place on this Earth. It could be, and it could be another Earth. That could be just let's jump over to the next dimension and back.
Oh, here's another great theory I just ran up against. This theory is that there is another Earth that is directly opposite. It's on the same course that we're on, the same passage around the sun type thing, but it's exactly opposite us, so that the sun is constantly keeping us away from seeing the other Earth.
Right.
That was a fun one, too.
Now, that's interesting because I get that we might not be able to see it from Earth, but now that we've been able to venture out to space and we've had, you know what I mean, a 360-degree view of everything, then I don't understand how it could still...
Yes, we have not, actually. NASA has made sure that we do not see.
Oh.
NASA has intentionally made sure that the shots from our satellites and stuff don't see there. And if you try to see it, figure it out, you'll find that those pictures that NASA has shot are not available to the public. Which is kind of cool. Yeah.
They rip your eyes out and take your tongue so that you can never tell anybody about it.
Don't make too much fun. They do exist.
So, now, the concept of, a different place, it's sort of to me, it's not unlike a portal or something like that, right? So that, let's say, I don't really feel that many, if there's, ETs, visiting us or even living with us, etc., then I don't think they're getting here by spaceship.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, totally agree with you.
And even if they are, they're coming from spaceship through, portals and stuff like that.
I believe what we see out there are shuttles, and that it's basically interdimensional travel. I don't believe for a minute spaceships are in use as far as travel, space travel. It's interdimensional. It's shifting. It's teleporting. It's stargates. It's whatever you want to call them. The Bosnian pyramid. They decoded one of the ceramic stones inside had runic type figures on it, and when they were able to decipher what it said, it was basically, we've sealed all the tunnels and the passages, we've sealed everything, we now have to be conquerors and hunters and gatherers until the Stargate opens again.
Yeah. Now, and so that back to your guy who found Middle Earth or something, and where I was going at that is that doesn't exclude that there could be stargates or portals or whatever you would want to call those, in the oceans or other bodies of water, inside the mountains, and it doesn't matter. So, but he could have been flying, for the hole that he saw. And then I've heard something that says that's all been covered up by, ice or whatever, and that when the glaciers melt, then Middle Earth will be revealed for us, again, or something like that. I don't know, but
look at Antarctic. The Antarctic. That land there was there's land there. They've discovered villages or the remnants of villages there, so that at one time the Earth's axis had been shifted and changed dramatically, and a theory is that at some point in time, originally all of the continents were one continent, and that there was a meteor that hit the Earth, and that shoved the Earth off center, and in shoving the Earth off center, the plates drifted and created the the countries and the land masses that we know today, and that one of the major quote unquote floods was when a giant meteor hit this Earth and created a tsunami that literally just wiped everything clean. So that the dinosaurs appeared, and when it did that, it shoved the Earth off axis, which created an instant ice age, which explains why they have dug up mammoths with buttercups in their mouth. So.
But being a flower, yeah.
Yeah.
But a flower, yeah. Yeah, no, and and all of that stuff was like, even without all of that, like, banging around and blah, 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 like, then we have all of the stages that the Earth has gone through before, which is like Ice Age, and so when Ice Age ends, there's an excess amount of water, which also could explain flooding, yes?
Yeah, but not major flooding that happens immediately. That would be a slower process. The floods that they talk about in the Bible, happened immediately. It was,
Those are Bible stories. Those are Bible stories, right? Like, I'm still saying, like, that there some land masses could easily have been covered up by even if a slow melting of, of great expanses of ice, and covered up, and then Ice Age comes back, and blah, blah, and so on and so forth, so anyways, my point simply is that that these places are, that people can get stuck into or fly into or drive, whatever, is a method of teleporting, and Lord knows. The key to all of that is, like, it's almost like bus transfers, you know what I mean? Bus transfers. Yeah. Like in the city here, I could, like, catch a bus here, and then it'll take me, like in the old days before we had, like, a sort of a place where many buses were, you know what I mean? Like, you would have to go to a place on the street, and then another bus could pick you up there, and then you would, now you can go to a place within a section, and multiple buses all land there, so it makes it easier to transfer, you know what I mean? And then, and then you go around, and then I could go to one place, and I could actually get on the light rail transit, and it could take me across the city much faster than all these transfers, but then I still might have to hop on a bus to get to my final destination. The key for us is really, like, when will we get to find out what the destination is to the other side of this portal, like, so that we know where we're going and we can actually do smart travel. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
because right now, we're taking our chances stepping into any one of these portals or teleporters or whatever. It's like, do we know what address it's dropping us off on, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of the crop circles and things like that have something to do with this kind of travel, because they're the symbols that they leave, those that are not human made, do look as though they're trying to give us information of some sort, but I haven't the faintest idea what kind it is.
Right.
So, it's fascinating.
We'd have to be able to discard and sort out, like, the junk ones that were man-made, right?
Mm-hmm.
And keep the ones that were legit, and then try and, like, I'm sure someone must have a library of all of these images, and, like, there's got, like, the codes and like, there's stuff there, like, that we just don't understand yet, necessarily, but I think that those are, full of information, not unlike a little microchip, you know what I mean?
I totally agree. The sacred geometry stuff is just amazing, and, the more you get involved in it, the more I know that a lot of the patterns of the cards that I painted are sacred geometry, and I didn't know a thing about sacred geometry, so that the patterns are there, and, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I would love to say I thought I did, but I didn't. I was just painting pretty pictures. Turns out they were more than pretty pictures, go figure.
Like, do you think that, okay, so now as human beings, we're on the path now to where they can do like they did the recent test so that they could reuse the rocket launchers and that, and they just landed gently back on the ground, both of them at the same time even, right? And so this is all like the prelude to a light rail transit that takes you someplace else other than Earth. But now as we can do that, are there destinations that we'll find where you think we can find more answers there that maybe we start to see things there that match up to some of these, mysteries that we have here? Or are we gonna, I feel that our better travel is to start to understand the portals, the teleporting, which I'm led to believe, right, that there's several teleportation places around the Earth and the United States or whatever, you know what I mean, where people can go and do go and get teleported places. And, what was it, Eisenhower's granddaughter or something like this is one that I think has teleported to Mars and all of that kind of stuff. I think that our better way of space travel is not going to be through all these, rockets and, again, spaceships, right? Our better way is going to be to master interdimensional travel and finding those.
I totally agree with you. I think I think in many ways we're a cosmic joke. That, trying to fly around in a tin can, they're not worried about us because we're not going anywhere. I mean, it's sort of like, let them play,
I've always said, we're so kindergarten. We are the equivalent of the caveman, to the universe. You know what I mean? As a species, we are kind of kindergarten level.
Totally agree with you. Totally. I mean, it's really, it's kind of like, oh, don't worry about them. They're nowhere near, getting any, they're not making sense of this. And what's really amazing is Nikola Tesla had free energy. He was working with time travel. He was working with teleportation. When he died, they confiscated all of his material, and it's never been released. The government has hidden it. This is in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. So that there are minds out there are scientists out there that are actually working on things like this, and the government suppresses them as soon as they get close to actually having something that will work. Which boggles my mind. It's like, be careful, don't be too good because you're going to get shut down.
Right. But is it the government, or is it is it some other? You know what I mean?
I don't believe it's the government that we know of as the government, but there's certainly a deep government someplace that is screwing with us unbelievably.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I got you. I mean, agree.
The powers that be will put it, and I don't know who they are, but there is a group of very powerful people that are laughing at us. Now, I don't think they know about time travel and stuff like that. I think that we're safe as far as that goes. That they are controlling the populace. They are dumbing down the consciousness. They are preventing people from thinking and learning, and they're doing that intentionally. And the more we question, the more we stretch ourselves into the what ifing, the more sharp we are, and the better able we are to ask the right questions to scare the hell out of them. Fortunately, that usually means you're going to get killed, but hopefully we'll come to a time where they just can't kill everyone.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder what would happen. I mean, if that happened, and it's happened theoretically before, then then they just plant some more seeds.
Well, they're not, they're not working through gods and stuff like that anymore because we don't buy gods. But, they are making slaves of us still, in that we are now a slave to the bank and we're a slave to government. I mean, we're enslaved by the credit cards that we use and stuff like that. So that it's we're still allowing ourselves to be controlled because of money, and you do away with money and then you don't have that problem. But it does, a society has been created so that we are again enslaved, and and we've done it to ourselves. They didn't need any help. We did it to ourselves, and I find it frightening. I'm just as guilty as everybody else, by the way. I've got my credit card debt too, so it's kind of, we don't have the freedom to really be ourselves because we are constantly working to try to get out of debt and out of trouble. And so we aren't able to really take a look at creation and our society and our cultures and our destiny as human beings. And where is Spirit going to take us? Because we are so focused on all of the other artificial problems that we have created for ourselves.
Yeah. No, I know. But I think that, once we can break through, and I believe that we will, I can't say in my lifetime, of course, but when human beings break through that, and understand really how much bigger the place really is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then all that is done. I feel that all of that is done then, you know what I mean? And people will, start to get past that. I think that at that stage, all of our, is it Maslow's needs or whatever, hierarchical needs or whatever, I think at that point, all of that stuff is not an issue, like hunger and everything like that isn't an issue for us anymore by the time we get there. And
no, probably not. But if we get
right.
there, depending on how we get there, if we get there because we're controlled by another consciousness, then it hasn't worked. The experiment has failed, and we'll have to go back to square one as a spirit.
Yeah.
So we're at a minor turning point right now, I would say. We're at a place where basically we are we have choices, and I'm not sure we're making smart choices now. But if you look at, and I hate to say this, but if you look at the governments around the world, most of them are in trouble. Most of them are self-destructing. Most of them are at a place in time where the egos are more important than the people that they serve. So that
Yep.
people are after power rather than serving the people that have put them there. So, and I think that you're seeing it in many countries, the United States for one, where people are beginning to recognize that this isn't working. We're going to have to create a system that does work. Now, I don't think that recognition is totally there yet with a lot of people. For some it is, for some it's not. I really think that our system of government is going to have to change, and I don't think it's going to. I think I may see the beginnings of it in my lifetime. There are rumblings of it now. So. Political parties don't work. It separates people. And then they're out for control. And then that's not the point of a government. A government is to serve the people and take care of them. We still have in this country hungry people, children going to bed hungry. We have homeless people. We have illness. The government, and I truly believe the government has done it, has has controlled the fact that I know there are cures for cancer out there that they aren't putting out there because Big Pharma doesn't want it because they, so that there's a lot of underhanded political stuff going on that does not serve the public. So
yeah, I absolutely right, and that's the biggest problem that we have right now, and so it's going to still probably take a few generations, Barbara. You know what I mean? To eradicate that, if that's at all possible, and it's going to require a sustained effort. Like these students that were recently rallying up against gun laws and that, like they can't go away now. You know what I mean? They have to keep the pressure on. As long as we keep, like this time, maybe the attention of the country was kept on the issue of guns longer. You know what I mean? But if they go away now, then we've got to wait till the next time, and then maybe the uprising is, lasts long enough that it's, it's like big, huge for a month instead of 2 weeks, and then but you can't keep going away on the issue. You can't. You got to sustain it, and it's the only way that change can come. And it will. But I still think it's a couple of generations away.
Well, I agree with you, and it's like you have people in the U.S. here that belong to different parties, and the parties are controlled. People can't even vote their conscience. They can't even actually say, well, my people sent me here for this reason, and, the other party has a really good plan. I think I'll go with it. They have to toe the company line, so to speak, and vote as a party, not not what the people who sent them there. I mean, I'm outraged that they are playing this kind of political game with all of our lives. To me, it's horrendous, and I fired them all a long time ago. I just said, everybody go home. You're not serving the people.
Everybody responsible for any kind of hiding of cures and things, they all belong in jail. You know what I mean? That's murder.
I agree with you.
I see that as murder, manslaughter at the very least, but it's like premeditated murder, really, in a way. It's a passive form of murder, but it's definitely with intention and for greedy purposes. You know what I mean? They always say for aggravating circumstances on things like murders and stuff. It's like if money was the motivation, then that's an aggravating factor. That kind of thing, right? And so. They all belong in jail. Any politician that's been complicit with it, and the big pharma people themselves, you know what I mean? They belong, maybe even, I'm not a death penalty believer, but if there was a reason for the death penalty, right there is a good one,
Well, I'm not against the death penalty. However, I think it's far more cruel to make somebody serve a life sentence and stick around and be imprisoned. I mean, if you kill them, they just go on to the next life. So why give them an easy out? Why not make them hang around as long as you possibly can and have them be miserable to serve their time out? I mean, to kill people doesn't make sense. I mean, it's cheaper. You don't have to pay for their upkeep for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. But to me, I mean, if you really want them to suffer, then keep them alive. Don't what is the word?
My only concern with that is that some law, lets them loose. Someone lets them out, like the next. You know what I mean? They get hardened off. You know what I mean? And so like that's my only concern with that. But I'm really not. Like I agree with you. 99,000 999 times out of 100,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, I'd much rather them have to, stay in prison and live with what they've done and everything like that. Would be much more suffering on them than death. But also at the same time, people become acclimated to prison as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that Jody, what's her name? Anyhow, like she gets into, and she's like the big star in there now. Like she's a celebrity in prison, and like so she's got her. They have their own little society going on in there, and so she gets to be the queen of her little castle there or whatever. So on some level, she's still enjoying, some societal benefits. So she adapts to that, and now, you make the most out of it. But nonetheless, there's a lot of people that could never adapt to prison, and it drives them, So either way, severe consequences need to occur. Plus all of their money taken away, all of the billions that they raked in off of the deaths of, everybody, for their hiding of the cures. You know what I mean? Of course, all of their wealth. Maybe forget prison. Strip them of their wealth and let them get a janitor's job for poverty wages. You know what I mean? That would actually be worse.
And that's assuming they would work. Probably not. They'd probably just get right back and steal money and, be off and running again. So I don't know. I would love to see a society that just didn't have crime.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
Anyway, so where are we at? We got 15 minutes. Did you want to, because I know I totally ripped you off of your topic there at one point, and so,
no, that's okay.
I don't know if you want to wrap anything up, wind it up or anything like that. Go back on anything.
I kind of forgot where we were.
And that's the bad thing about me.
That's okay. No, I just think that we really need to, I think if there is a message tonight, it's probably please question everything. Don't accept things at face value. Do the research. Have different thoughts and ideas. Always, come on. The more you learn, the more you stretch, the more you grow, and that's why you're here. And if you accept things as carved in stone, if you take somebody's word for something and you don't question it and check it out yourself, then you're not growing. And I have a lot of stuff on my website, but there are things there that I've stretched beyond, and I have another philosophy on, but they were good for that for that time frame. But the thing is, we have to keep growing and questioning and stretching and I did say that people were beginning to pull away from those labels that they had put on themselves, and I've talked to 15, 20 different people who are in this field, and all of them are saying, wait a minute, there has to be more. And I think that's something we should always say. There has to be more. Where is it? And keep growing, because if you stop growing, there's no point to your being here. If you stop learning, if you stop expanding your consciousness, the reason you're here is to expand your awareness and put more information into yourself. And if you're not doing that, if you're not questioning, then you're just sliding through this particular lifetime, and that's okay. You'll come and do another lifetime. Doesn't matter. You have all of eternity to do this. But it's more fun if you're learning and you're growing and you have lots of different strings out there with different things you're looking into. It's I think the internet is the greatest thing ever because it has information that is wrong on it too. So it's really do not think that just because St. Google gave it to you, it means it's right, because it's not.
That's exactly. You have to do due diligence, and even finding the same information like on several spots doesn't mean it's right, because those people have mostly just copied and pasted from someone else who was wrong.
Be like the newspapers used to be.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're not anymore, but they always had to have 3 different sources for information before they printed something. That is no longer the case. But that doesn't mean that you can't get different sources of information and pull it all together, because it's, you don't have to go to libraries. You don't have to sit in dusty book, places. You don't have to go into the archives. You can do it on your computer, and it's amazing the information you can find. And there's the dark web. There's all sorts of places you can look and find and grow from that it's important. It doesn't take anything other than clicking on the keyboard. And, and I think the thing that annoys me the most is when somebody's published a book and they don't have it on Kindle and I have to actually get the book and read it.
Yeah, I know, right? I hate reading, period. That's why I like having Barbara DeLong on my show. That Barbara does all the reading. I could just be the beneficiary of it all.
It's sometimes 4 and 5 books a week, and sometimes only 1 or 2. But it's a constant stretch, and it's exciting. It's I often sit back and say, never thought of it that way, but that looks interesting. Let's try that on for a while and see if it fits. And then, I always tell people, don't think that what I say is carved in stone, because my philosophy is good for that moment in time, and it could easily change within 10 minutes.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, but that's the beauty of critical thinking too, right? Like, it's good to go and, don't be afraid of reading stuff that you don't necessarily agree with, because within that you may find a piece or a bit or two that actually completes some other angle you were working on, but critical thinking is what gets you there, and this, you don't have to believe all of everything, you know what I mean? To believe parts of it, you don't have to believe it all. It's okay to cherry pick, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And nobody can be right about everything, I don't think. And so I also believe, for some of us, this is, the purpose of why intuition seems to be getting stronger, you know what I mean, is to help us with this and with this dissemination of information, with processing this information and figuring it all out, what is real, what works for us, what doesn't, and come to, maybe one day we try, what happens, Barbara, when the great mystery gets solved finally? You know what I mean?
Then I would imagine there's another mystery right beyond it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so
it's kind of like when we understand totally and completely what that creative energy, that source of all creation is, and we have a full grasp on it. The next question is, well, who made you?
Right.
Who's your God?
Well, there you go. And it'll be like, I made me, you know what I mean? It'll be the answer at the end of it all. I made me.
Well, there's that saying, we are who we've been waiting for.
Yep, indeed.
We just have to believe it and start working with it, because it's true. I mean, we're in charge. And the more you get into yourself, the more you make that connection with the spirit within, the greater talents and gifts you have at your disposal, the more vibrantly alive you are, and the richer your reality is. It's a magical thing, and it's a great trip.
Yeah.
I think.
So what have you got coming up at at your show for Monday?
Nothing. Actually, I'm taking the next 2 weeks off. I'm going down to Virginia to help Jeannie. She has one of her relatives passed away, and she is the executor, and she has to go through the entire house and clear it out. So I'm going down. It's really cool to be able to go into somebody's house and go into all the drawers and get, it's like it's kind of like a scavenger hunt.
Maybe better if you don't know them, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I didn't know her well, and the reality is that none of the people there can actually help her because they're all in the will. So she needed somebody who was not in the will to come and be the witness and everything, and so that's me. But I will be gone for a week, and I'm taking 2 weeks off of the show, and then I will be back on the 26th of March, and I've got Rebecca Hardcastle on that particular night. So
cool.
Looking forward.
Well, have a good, safe trip and all that kind of stuff.
I'm really going to try to get out between snowstorms. I mean, I have, if anybody's interested in what it looks like at my house, check out my Facebook page because I got snow. I got really a lot of snow here.
So much for spring, hey?
Oh my gosh, I think, Chris, I got about 14 inches.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I leave on Sunday, and I will be back a week from that Monday. So, and I have to read a book or two while I'm gone. So
that'll be your winding down at night.
I guess so. Yeah. Happily, I read real fast, so it's really a cool thing.
Indeed. Well, okay. So that was an awesome show. Thank you very much, of course, as always, for your time. Everybody, again, go to Barbara's website, www.barbaradelong.com. And
and the YouTube channel is Barbara DeLong.
Oh, it is Barbara DeLong. Did you change it?
No, it's always been Barbara DeLong.
Well, the P.O. box, like the user, well, I don't know why we get there with the one you gave me in the first place, that P.O. box.
Oh, you do. But if you go into YouTube and you type in Barbara DeLong, I pop right up.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Perfecto. All right, Barbara, thank you, and have a good trip, and we'll see you when you're back.
Absolutely.
All right, and go enjoy your supper, because I know I'm
going to.
Okay, everybody, we're back. Well, I'll post something on my Facebook. I might just open up the place for a couple of days just for nothingness. I have no guests for 4 days, and so we might just open it up just to let you guys come and chat and yak with each other or something like that without recording it. So keep an eye on my Facebook page for information about that. Thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.